Queer.
Fucking dyke.
Dirty gay cunt.
Off diver. You're a man.
Uphill gardener.
Tranny.
What are you doing in these toilets?
Bender.
Fucking gay twats.
Gay boy.
Dyke.
Arse bandit.
Butt muncher.
Lesbian.
Everything.
Homosexuality was made illegal by Queen Victoria. She didn't believe that two men could have a relationship together the same way that a heterosexual couple could. So, in her own eyes, she decided that it was something that she had to do something about. So she made it illegal. What she didn't do was make it illegal for lesbians. So throughout history, it was always believed that women only had an affection for each other as a friendship and nothing else, but whereas two men, it became abhorrent. The Stonewall Riots were started because of the police persecution of gay men in New York. They used to raid coffee shops, bars and clubs that were apparently renowned to be gay venues. They would even send in police officers undercover to drink so that they could watch and see what was happening. And as soon as they noticed the same-sex couples dancing together or holding hands, they would then call with a signal and the place would be rioted. But the Stonewall Riots actually kicked off when everybody stood up and said, no, we're not taking this anymore. And they marched on the police headquarters in New York protesting. Homophobia is a huge problem in today's society, mainly in schools. You do hear it on the streets, but not as much as it used to be. But in the schools, it's still a major issue and has to be tackled. When I say has to be tackled, it has to be tackled by not just the schools themselves and the teachers, but it has to be tackled by the parents in the home, teaching the youngsters that it's not right to act in a specific way towards someone just because they're different. Growing up, I grew up in an era where there was no internet, so finding out information was much more difficult for myself. When people called you a name, or you saw someone acting a particular way on the television, the name calling, you would look for the words in the dictionary and you wouldn't find them. Watching people on the television, they were always the butt of a joke, or they were put in a position of being perverted or wrong. So as I grew up, it was difficult for a completely different reason to the youngsters now. I set the charity up basically because I'd had friends and family members come to me asking me questions when they were worried about another member of the family or in their peer group, because they didn't know how to handle a situation when they thought someone may have been gay or lesbian. Also, I was coming into contact with people through the media that had taken their own lives, and I just thought it had to stop.
My name's Billy, I'm 19 and I grew up in Reading. I'm working part-time at an Esso garage, just for a bit of funding. Otherwise, I live with Will. I lodged with him, because before I was like bumming around on people's sofas and stuff, so he just said that I could have a spare room. So. When I did come out to my friends, because I told one friend and they told everyone, and I lost all my friends. Most of them because being friends with me meant that they were gay, that they couldn't be seen like that, but the rest were obviously homophobic. So that was a bit of an obstacle, as you can imagine, but I did find new friends pretty quickly, and they were stronger friends than the other ones, so you know, it kind of worked out. Because I didn't have strong access to the internet where I was, and the school didn't have anything poster-wise, or you know, they didn't even have like a group or anything, so no support. I wasn't telling.
I've known Billy now for almost 2 years. He came down with a friend to visit the charity when we first launched, and came back and forth over a period of several weeks, and then eventually moved to Salisbury so that he could volunteer on a more permanent basis. And he's been now volunteering with us for about 18 months.
My name is Władysław Karlberg. I'm 31 years old. My Thai friends call me Yoi, and everyone else calls me Julie. I was born in Sweden. I lived there for 7 years, and then I grew up here in UK. I'm currently studying, and I've just started a 2-year BTEC course in music at Salisbury College. I started wearing female clothing since I was 12. Between that and the age of 20, I got a sexual feeling out of it. After that, it became a big part of my life. That was between the age of 20 to 24. When I was 24, I did live as a female for a year after I finished my degree, but I was squatting at a friend's house at that time. However, around February last year, 2001, I decided to stop coming out of the closet and then going back in again, and decided to come out properly.
I've known Julie for approximately a year, maybe a little longer. And she came to us with transgender issues that she needed help with and support, so we dealt with those by talking with her family in a groups format session, and we've assisted Julie as well with other things like finding service provision through medical help and information. She's a lovely person who's been treated quite badly socially on a personal level by people in the street, but she's overcoming that now by busking.
My name's Sam Moran. I was born in Devizes, Wiltshire, but I've lived my whole life really here in Salisbury. I'm 44. I work for an organisation called BTCV, which is British Trust for Conservation Volunteers, and I do a lot of conservation work, and I'm doing a diploma in environmental conservation. I dressed in a very tomboyish way. I was quite a tomboy really. I was forced to come out because my mum had found letters that I'd written to my girlfriend, and so she kind of confronted me with it. So I never really came out. I was kind of forced to come out, and then that was it then, you know. I just didn't turn, I didn't deny it after that.
Well, I've known Sam for approximately a year, and she first came along to one of our events with a few questions that she needed answers with. We managed to sort that for her, and we've dealt with a few other issues for her on her behalf. She's become quite a good friend, and she also acts as a volunteer for the charity now. Rainbow Rooms UK is a charity that looks after lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender people. We also look after their family, their friends and anyone that comes into contact with them, i.e. employers. We offer a service where we signpost people to other services around the country. If they don't know where to find assistance or help or support, they can come to us, we find it for them and we get it back to them. But also we've now started putting those services into place ourselves, and we're fast becoming one of the larger LGBT charities in the country.
I was there at ground level, so I arrived on the very first time they opened up their social evening and youth group. So, I never attended, I guess. It gave me confidence in my aspirations, so it kind of gave me like momentum to achieve what I wanted to out of life. It showed me that, you know, help is there if it's made to be there.
From searching for transgender support groups on Facebook, I found Rainbow Rooms. My GP and Rainbow Rooms are the main people who have been very supportive all this time. It opened up a lot of doors for me, and I have to admit that it really made my life a lot easier, as Will, Clark and some other friends have given me some very sound advice. They also provide a welcome environment for me too, and whenever I've got any dilemmas I can just go to them and ask them.
I've got involved with the Rainbow Rooms charity, and I'm volunteering with the youth group, which is quite exciting because I want to help young people who are come out in a positive way and make it as easy as possible for them, and not in the way that the problems I had, so that there's somewhere they can go for support. Well, I found out about it. I went to a music in the park thing. I used to go along to the social things, which I still do, you know. I found that quite good.
every child wants their parent to be proud of them. So for me, it was not wanting my parents to be ashamed was the biggest fear in the entire world. I think my dad was ashamed because he never talks about it, but I think that's better than saying negative things, so I'll go with that. I think my mum's ashamed of me. I'd say in a way the relationship with my mum's got stronger. Only minuscule, in a little bit.
When I first came out to my mum, we did a short ceremony, and for that I had to get down on my knees and put my head down, and like this, and ask my mum for forgiveness for all the mistakes that I had done in the past. That was the deal, so that my mum would then support me with my transitioning.
My mum had a lot of trouble coming to terms with it, and it was really difficult. There was a lot of arguments and things, and I had a breakdown as a result of it in the end. And then when I had my first proper relationship, people found out, and I lost a lot of friends, and I thought I'd lost my mum, but I hadn't. It was something that we didn't talk about. It was just not talked about at all. And it did upset me to a degree, because it meant that the most important people in my life were, she didn't really know them, or she certainly didn't know them as partners or anything like that. They were just friends. I think if she was alive today, she probably would have accepted me, because I think I'm more mature and would find it easier to talk to her and kind of, explain things better.
Not all transsexuals go on hormones and choose to have the operation. Some of them just decide to live the way that they do, or try their best to live as the gender that they're born, which I can't do.
Unfortunately, Julie is running before she can walk, and we've had to take some time with her on a level where we've had to give her certain advice on certain things that she's doing, where there have been issues with self-medication through the internet. We've been trying to educate her into understanding the dangers and the problems that can cause.
The issues with self-medicating is if they're not aware of the dangers, it can be quite harmful. So basically, somebody who is self-medicating needs a general practitioner to do blood results on them on a regular basis to make sure they're not over estrogenizing themselves. If they're a smoker as well, they risk a cardiovascular disease and a stroke and possibly deep vein thrombosis. If they're having too much estrogen, it can actually fuse the nipple buds and the breast growth. So eventually, when they do start to get some proper breast development, or they get no breast development because everything is fused, then if they were to ever have implants, they'd have very sort of odd-shaped, conical-shaped breasts. For 2 years, they live in the acquired gender that they want to be. So if you've got somebody who was born a natal male who wants to become a female, they have to live and prosper in the role as a female. So we expect them to dress as a female, behave as a female, and seek occupation as a female. And their bank details and medical details should all be turned around into the gender that they are.
I was working in one of my jobs, it was in like a cafe style, and I asked for a drink, and this chap that was doing the drink, he kind of hovered over the drink, and I can see that he was blatantly spitting in it, and then he gave it to me. I'll say that's the most extreme. I didn't drink it, don't worry. But yeah, I'd say that's the most extreme, like, volatile reaction that I've ever had.
At a pub in Bethnal Green in London called the Salmon and Ball. I had used the ladies' room, and because of that I was not allowed to buy a drink, and the landlord kicked me out. It's not against the law for transsexuals to use that room that they feel they're comfortable with, if you know what I mean. So I said to the landlord, look, it's not against the law for me to use the ladies' room. And he said, yes, it is in my pub. And I was quite shocked about that. So I left feeling quite upset. At college, I'd been using the ladies for 2 months, and then someone complained about me, and my tutor recommended that I use the disabled loos. I declined and I called up Will Clark, and eventually the college had made a unisex bathroom just for me, as I'm the only trans person there. Some colleagues at work told me to be careful about my appearance, but most people are not affected by it. I pretty much did the rest, as I thought it was best for my students to hear it from me, their teacher, instead of someone else. I know that whilst transitioning, I need to either work or study, otherwise a gender clinic won't support me. For a job, I make a bit of scrap money from busking, but at the moment I don't have the confidence to do that. So I think I might look into volunteering work.
Then there are times when she can't hear her daughter's cry.
My manager at BTCV is gay anyway, so it doesn't really make any difference. But I have had a few instances in sort of just around town and stuff. Quite a few years ago now, though. One time I got punched in the back by someone, and another time I got spat at.
We've had name calling. People have been getting pushed in the playground or in school, just bumped into and called a derogatory name. Some have even been violently attacked, and that's adults and children. It goes on. If you can imagine someone being nasty, vile or threatening to someone, then just tag it with gay or queer and you've got an incident.
I do have a partner, and it's going really well. His experiences are a lot harsher than mine, so we come across quite a lot of insecurities when we're in like public places, because people assume that it is literally all about the sex, but it's more about people, same as it is with straight relationships.
I have a wife, but I left her when I came out because she was not able to support me. One day when I ran away from my wife to be with my friend who's also a ladyboy, like my granddaughter called me and she's wondering where I am, and I told her everything about what's going on in my life. My wife and some of my family believe that whatever happens, I was born male and I will always be, and by changing my sex is a sin. She loves me so much, she's perfect and she's my soulmate, but because of my sexuality, which is also something that I've tried to deny over these years, as well as my gender issues, I find it hard to get on with my life. My wife is starting to find it easier to understand now. We're still married and I aim to go back to Thailand so that we can get divorced. By being married, I feel that my wife and I can't have our own lives. I do hope to get a serious relationship with a guy someday. I've never had a boyfriend before, and I know deep inside that I prefer boys to girls.
I split up from my partner. It must be about getting on for 2 years now, and we were together for quite a long time, so that was a difficult thing for me to come to terms with. I wouldn't say that I was fully over that yet. I don't enjoy living alone or being on my own very much. I hate my own company, so I found that hard. I have found that hard, and it was quite emotional. There was the euphemism of friend, so because we lived with a lot of elderly people, and they didn't, although they knew about us, it was never acknowledged ever. It was just, oh, I've seen your friend today, or something like that. I didn't find that a problem. My partner did. She wanted people to acknowledge us. We never really were together out in public, if you know what I mean. We didn't hold hands or do any of those things. I think we felt uncomfortable about doing that in Salisbury. If we went somewhere bigger, to somewhere like London or Brighton or somewhere like that, then we didn't feel uncomfortable with it at all.
Everywhere I look around me, I get people looking at me weird, or giving some narrow-minded remarks. Also suffer from depression and insecurities. Plus another main one is being passable.
It's definitely a man.
What do you think about that?
It's up to him.
Fine.
I've realised that people are still not sure about the term transsexual, and most people do actually see me as a man in drag. I mean, some people say like I look convincing, some people say I look like a natural woman, but deep inside my mind, and also when people give me weird looks, I just think I'm not passable enough. I have been compared to I can't remember the name of the actor on Mighty Boosh. I think it's Noel Fielding, but he's not transsexual or transgender. He's just a glam,
I think they're accurate, but they're accurate of that single personality. I don't think they're reflective of the whole of the gay community as a diverse spectrum.
I think some comedy programmes, if the person who is gay is joking about themselves, then I think that's good in a way, and I think that it shows that we're all the same, really. There are some quite good portrayals of homosexuality out there.
You want to talk to people about it and try and find some information as to why I'm so different from everybody else, kind of thing. So I always thought even if I was the most manly person in the entire world, I'd still be gay, regardless. It's very difficult to judge whether or not something is right unless you're in those shoes. It's very difficult for me to judge why they're straight. This is probably a good one, because I'm not straight, so I can't say being straight is wrong, you should all die, because I just can't judge you like that, because I'm not. I'm more than proud of being gay, but it's just, if I wasn't, then life would be a whole lot easier and simpler. But then that's not to say that I'm not happy with what's happened in my life.
Whatever you are, straight, gay, lesbian or bi, those people, they don't understand people like us transsexuals. But that's just my own perception.
I don't wish it now. I'm glad I am. I suppose when I was going through turmoil, when I was younger, I did probably think, I wish this wasn't happening to me. If I could just be so-called normal, then I wouldn't be having all this conflict with my mum and with my friends and with my family and so on. People that are gay are no different from anyone else. We're all the same, all of us, and we have the same feelings.
Born into